What's going on, everyone? So, it's very obvious the Lakers need a trade, and they need one desperately. They need several trades. Luckily, reports have came out that the Lakers are aware that they need multiple moves, that they need to address several needs from, athletic guard play to 3 and D wing to backup center position. So, the Lakers are aware that, hey, we need likely 2, 3, 4 guys if we're really trying to make this a contending team. So Rob Pelinka, he has his work ahead of him. All the prices are insane right now. I do believe a lot of those will drop once we get to the trade deadline. You'll also have new teams that, teams that thought they were going to be good that aren't, or teams that, don't want to be good that are, and are like, hey, we want to hit the reset button. We want to try to go capture the flag, as people are putting it, right? Like, I do think as you move closer to trade deadline, you'll start to get that. Supposedly, no trades for the Lakers are probably going to get done until after December 15th. December 15th is kind of the beginning of trade season for teams. I would like that first move though. Right, you look a couple seasons ago, like with Rui, where we got the Rui trade, and then you ended up doing the bigger trade, like the real swing trades, trade of Russell Westbrook and Patrick Beverley and all these guys, right? I would prefer to see something like that. Like, at least just get the first move. Even if it is like a Valanciunas or something like that, give some life, get some excitement, right? Add something to just Lakers fandom, Lakers Nation as a whole, right? Like, we're excited. Like, yes, cool, we got the first move. We know Rob is active. We know he's trying to get a trade done. We know he's working. He's doing stuff. Because right now, we don't know what's going on behind the scenes. We don't know what conversations are being had. We don't know outside of the reports that are coming out. But what do we do know based on those reports? Rob has been very active in trying to get trades done, as well as the asking prices are insane for all these teams, right? But I do think that they're going to come down. I do think teams will, they'll settle at some point. And some of these players, like the Nets, could end up losing several of these guys for nothing. So are they really just going to lose guys? They're not going to take a bad trade. They're not going to want to take on a bunch of salary, do all this crazy stuff. But if you can get a couple seconds for Dennis Schroeder, right? That's better than just losing him. Dorian Finney-Smith could opt out, right? Wouldn't you rather get a couple seconds than just losing him, right? And you also got to look at the asking prices for some of these players, right? Dorian Finney-Smith, teams have been trying to get a first for him for years. I mean, Dallas was trying to get a first for Dorian Finney-Smith, 3-4 seasons ago, and they couldn't do it, right? So it's something that's not again, the market tells you, hey, there's not this demand, right? I do have my concerns with the Nets because it's they were patient. They got everything that they wanted from Mikal Bridges, but that also was circumstances, right? People were worried about the Rudy Gobert trade. Oh no, this just set the market, set it a terrible precedent, right? And then he saw some insane asking prices, and then everyone came to the realization that no, Minnesota's just terrible, and just decided to make poor decision, right? They just greatly overpaid. It was an outlier rather than the new standard and the new norm. It's kind of what I feel what will happen with Mikal Bridges, right? The Knicks were in a very particular circumstance. They fell in love with the Villanova idea and all that stuff, and reuniting the Villanova guys and stuff. I think people understand that was more of an outlier than the new norm, the new standard. But if you're the Nets, you're kind of hey, look, we had this insane asking price for Mikal Bridges, and we got it, right? So I do have concerns in that regard, but look, the Lakers have several needs, and it's very clear, right? You can use some point of attack, some athleticism at the guard position. You could use a 3 and D wing. You could use backup center. Those are the 3 things that the Lakers need badly. And again, good that the Lakers understand that those are the 3 things they need because, at least they're aware. Right. The problem is if they're trying to target all these guys that just don't. It's what? Why are you trying to do that? Right. At least they know. Okay, hey, these are our needs. This is what's blatantly obvious. We got to try to address that. We got to try to get those done. Right. I think it's just me. I think either A, you need to get a higher end guy, Brandon Ingram, Zach LaVine, Trae Young, something like that. And then 1 or 2 mid-tier guys. So if you can get a Zach LaVine and then a Dorian Finney-Smith and perfect world Walker Kessler or a Day'Ron Sharpe. Now I think you could potentially be a contender. Or you got to get 3 or 4 mid-tier guys, right? If you can get a Dennis Schroeder, Day'Ron Sharpe, Dorian Finney-Smith, and Cam Johnson, right? Boom, now I think you're a contender, right? I just think you either need three, four guys that are like kind of mid tier, or like one higher end guy and then one or two kind of mid to lower mid tier guys. And I think now you're back in that conversation. Now I think, because also it's just the collective, right? It's what does each guy do individually? Yes, that's a need, that helps, that's a lot. Well, when you put it all together, like that's great. Think of like Power Rangers, right? Like the Megazords, right? Each Megazord does its own thing. Each Megazord has its own value. But when you put them together, right? Boom, there you go. Now it becomes this beast of a machine, right? Or Voltron for those that are a little older, right? Like you think of all the beasts, right, come together, boom. Now you got the Voltron, right? Like so again, like I just think that's kind of how I look at it, right? Like if you get a Dorian Finney-Smith, if you get a Dayron Sharp, if you get a Zach LaVine, right? It's like, okay, Zach LaVine. First off, could you imagine a Zach LaVine, Brandon Ingram, guy like that in the Austin Reeves role? Just think of how much better the Lakers would be naturally, just with that alone, right? Not to mention the pecking order gets dropped, right? Talked about that heavily. Austin Reeves now becomes your fourth guy. Connect now becomes your fifth, sixth guy, right? Like, so now it's just you're in a better natural position, right? So now when Austin Reeves has the good games, you're probably winning all of those. Right? And if he has a bad game, you're still in a good enough position to potentially still win those games. Take pressure off of LeBron James, take pressure off Anthony Davis, gives you some athleticism, gives you some point of attack, right? Gives you some, rim pressure and all those things. A guy that can score, right? Like, okay, that's great. That's needed. Okay, well, Dorian Finney-Smith, right? You look at Dorian Finney-Smith. Okay, legit 3-and-D wing, can defend essentially 1 through 4, right? Got some decent athleticism, can do some multiple things out on the basketball court, fills a need. Perfect, right? Jonas Valanciunas or a Dayron Sharp, right? Okay, cool. Guy gets you double-double or near double-double every night, right? Valanciunas' case can make some plays out of the post, can operate around the rim, score around the rim, right? Okay, cool, right? Now, if you add all those pieces together, imagine like if each one gives you, let's say Zach LaVine gives you, say up to 10, right? Like a +3. Right, and then you get a +1, and then you get a +1, right? Okay, well now you're a +5, but think of like almost like a parlay, yeah. Like each individual one, yeah, you're a +5, but if you combine them all together, it's like a +7, right, or a +8, right? Like I think that's kind of how I look at it. With if you can get 3 or 4 pieces, right? I don't think the Lakers are insanely far, and I know like some people might look at it and go, well, you just said that they need 3 or 4 guys, so clearly they are that far. Yes, but you're not talking about like, oh, you need like a Giannis, right? Like you need, like the Lakers are so far that like I've seen like the sentiment, like, can this be fixed? Is this something that is fixable? It absolutely is. I've talked about, don't underestimate the value of quality trades. Don't underestimate the value of 1, 2, 3 guys. This is basketball. It's a 5-on-5 game. If you upgrade 2 of your top 5 guys, right, like 2 of your starters, you're just naturally a better team, because those are the guys that are going to get the most run. Those are the guys that are going to get the most burn. And you're replacing, guys that aren't giving you that production for guys that are. Dallas, right? Go get P.J. Washington, Daniel Gafford. No one's looking at P.J. Washington, Daniel Gafford as like a real difference maker to take a team that was looking like a play-in team, maybe even missing the play-in. I mean, there were reports of like, can Luka even play with another star? Does him and Kyrie work, right? All of a sudden they go make 2 quality moves, not even for like high-end guys, just 2 mid-tier guys. All of a sudden you look up and they're in the NBA Finals, right? Changes things. Lakers a couple seasons ago, right? You go get Rui, you go get D'Angelo Russell, go get Jared Vanderbilt. All of a sudden we go on this run. All of a sudden we're in the conference finals, right? Like, you change the landscape of this team. You change the mentality, right? Guys are down, frustrations in the locker room. Guys aren't performing. Coaches frustrated. Like, there's all this just like this dread. Fans are just, this is ridiculous, right? Like, we're all just kind of in our feelings, in our emotions. You add in guys that they haven't been dealing with it. They haven't been dealing with the turmoil. They haven't been dealing with the frustrations. They haven't been dealing with it. They're excited. They're fresh. We're a Laker, right? I get to play with LeBron James and Anthony Davis. I get to go and try to contend for a championship, because most of these guys are on bad teams, right? Like, it changes the mood immediately, changes the vibe, the environment. Us fans, we're like, we just got, a Zach LaVine and a Dorian Finney-Smith, or, Dorian Finney-Smith and a Dennis Schroeder and a Dayron Sharp and a Cam Johnson, all this stuff. Like, you go get 2, 3, 4 guys. All of a sudden, boom, Everything changes. Not only are you upgraded as a team, but the morale's higher. Coaching, JJ Redick's like, man, I can do all kinds of stuff now. I got some real athleticism, got some real point of attack. I can do different defensive looks. I can do different offensive styles, offensive systems, right? Like Lakers are very limited right now because they don't have the athletes, right? Like, why are we so bad defensively? Because you only have so many defensive looks you can throw at guys. You can throw at teams because we don't have the personnel to switch it up where it's like, okay, this scheme isn't working, so let's go with this one. That one's not working. Okay, let's go with this one. All right, that one's not working. Let's go with this one. This guy has been a problem. Hey, you're on the bench. You come in, right? Like, we don't have that luxury right now. But if you can go pull off trades to where now you do, you're just in a much better shape, just in a much better position. And I think the Lakers will be looking pretty. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion, and I pass the question on to you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? What are your thoughts? Are you glad that the Lakers at least are aware that, like, hey, we need 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces, right? Like, it's not just like, because it gives me, it kind of calms things down a little bit for me, because it's like, okay, at least I know they're not just going to go trade for Valanciunas or something like that and then just be done, right? They're still going to be active in trying to find those moves, which I think is good. But do you feel the same way? However you feel, whatever your thoughts are, love to hear it. So let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot, so we enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.